Imagine pulling into your local petrol pump and watching the meter flash to 150 rupees a liter. That is the immediate mathematical consequence if India abruptly cuts off its supply of Russian crude oil. Washington is actively pressuring New Delhi to fall in line, backing up their demands with the threat of 50% punitive tariffs aimed squarely at Indian exports. But at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a blunt warning. He warned that any sanctions aimed at India will act as a boomerang, striking the Western economies that throw them. India sidesteps these global threats through a meticulously calculated policy of strategic autonomy. This geopolitical shield is designed specifically to protect the Indian consumer from imported inflation. To understand why India refuses to sever its ties with Moscow, we have to look at history. There was a time when the United States explicitly denied Narendra Modi a visa. Today, Washington is scrambling to secure trade agreements with his government. New Delhi's relationship with Moscow relies on decades of Soviet-era trust and deep institutional collaboration. You can see that integration in hardware like the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. This weapons program was co-developed from the ground up by both Indian and Russian engineers working side by side. Russia even extended the ultimate gesture of strategic trust, offering to co-develop their most advanced fifth-generation stealth fighter, the S-57, alongside India. Demanding that India abandon Russia requires dismantling an entire foundational military architecture. That is a red line New Delhi refuses to cross. Then there is the sheer scale of the energy trade. India is the world's third-largest oil importer, currently processing up to 1.5 million barrels of Russian crude every single day. This chart illustrates the catastrophic global risk of halting that trade. If Moscow retaliated by cutting global supply by just 1 million barrels a day, global crude prices would instantly breach $120 a barrel, sending Western economies into a tailspin. Despite this math, Washington frequently brandishes CAATSA, a piece of U.S. legislation designed to financially punish any nation that conducts significant trade with American adversaries. This side-by-side comparison shows the physical chemistry problem that defeats those U.S. demands. The shale oil exported by America is a light-grade liquid, similar to gas condensate. Russian Urals crude, on the other hand, is heavy and rich in sulfur. Indian refineries are structurally calibrated to process that heavy crude. Attempting to replace it entirely with American shale means routing the lighter oil through a costly, multi-step blending process, wiping out Indian profit margins. Washington's pressure campaign ignores the actual hardware inside Indian refineries. India defies the US because the rigid logic of refinery mathematics demands it. We have already seen the results of bowing to this kind of pressure. When European countries banned Russian energy, they were rewarded with crippling, sky-high domestic inflation. India has watched this carefully, recognizing that the global economic center of gravity is moving east, driven by the rising dominance of the BRICS nations. This chart of purchasing power parity reveals why the West is concerned. BRICS holds a 40% share of global GDP, against the G7's 29%. The momentum gap is widening. BRICS economies surge at 4% growth, while the G7 stagnates at 1.1%. The traditional Western powers are attempting to dictate the terms of global trade, with a steadily shrinking share of global influence. Meanwhile, New Delhi and Moscow are actively accelerating their partnership, projecting a massive $100 billion in bilateral trade, covering everything from IT to energy. India remains untouched by the sanctions boomerang because its decisions are dictated entirely by its own national interests. The rest of the world must now adjust to India's terms.